Welcome to Part 4 of EVE 101 presented by CrossingZebras.com. We've already discussed skills and ships a player can use. This video will focus on the player's main tools when playing EVE Online, their ship's modules. In EVE, every offensive and defensive item used by the player's ship falls into the category of being a module. Modules help a ship determine its role in a fleet, or as a solo ship. As mentioned in the video on EVE Online's ships, modules must be fit to a ship. This requires two things. First, the player must have the prerequisite skills to be able to use the module, and they must also be adding the module to a ship that can accept it. Not all modules can be added to any ship. Some ships have specific modules that they can only use. Modules are split into 4 different categories. These are high slots, mid slots, low slots, and rigs. As we stated in the video on ships, a starship has a set number of modules and rig slots that help define its purpose in EVE Online. The first 3 categories contain modules that can be both passive and active, whereas rigs are passive attributes that can be applied to a ship. What also differentiates rigs from other modules is that once they are added to a ship, they cannot be removed without being destroyed. Modules that fall into the high slot, mid slot, and low slot category can be removed with no penalty incurred. A module also requires the ship it is being fit to have the proper amount of CPU and power grid. This helps turn the module online when fitting it to the ship. The sum total of the CPU and power grid requirements of all the fitted modules must be less than or equal to the amount of CPU and power grid the ship can provide. Passing this set level results in some modules not being able to be set online, rendering them more or less useless. A player can use things called implants, but that's a little bit more of an advanced term we won't cover. In EVE, knowing how to fit your ship properly is of vital importance, so much so that players use third-party tools to find the best fits for ships that match the player's goals. These tools, like the skill planning tool we mentioned in part 2 of this series, are programs that can be downloaded and installed outside of the game. Primarily, there are 2 main programs, EVE Fitting Tool and EVE PIFA. Both provide the same service, a program a player can use to plan out and try different fits without having to log into the game. Passive modules require no player interaction to receive the benefit, so we'll look at how active modules work. When a module is fitted to a ship and can be activated, it has 3 states: offline, online, and overheated. The first 2 are rather simple to understand, as they require the player to press the appropriate hotkey or click the module itself to activate the module. The third term refers to a module's active state called overheating. When a player overheats a module, it's an active state that makes the module work at a higher rate. Think of it like this. A weapon module, when not overheated, exerts 100 damage per second. When activating the overheat function, this same module can now apply 130 damage per second. To overheat a module, a player must have the appropriate skills that enable this ability, which is called thermodynamics. This skill allows a player to overheat any active module that they have fitted to their ship. However, when a player overheats their ship module, it takes what is called heat damage over the time that the overheat effect is taking place. This also affects other modules in that module's grouping. Heat damage is a design that limits the use of simply overheating everything on a player's ship. Every module has a certain amount of health, and when the module's health is depleted due to the heat damage, that module becomes broken and can no longer be used by the player. And this is called burnout, and it is something a player doesn't want to happen. When a module takes damage, a player can repair it in space with the item called Nanite Repair Paste. This is essentially a healing potion for the module. If a module is burnt out, however, the player must dock in a station with a repair facility to fix their damaged modules. When talking about modules, we should also mention that, like ships, there are different tiers. These different tiers are as follows. Civilian modules are the lowest tier of module in the game. They are the weakest of the module types. Basic modules is a variant of the Tech 1 module, but has reduced attributes and require less skill points to use. They also have the benefit of being able to take up less CPU and power grid to fit to a ship rather than their Tech 1 counterparts. Tech 1 modules are simply the most common type of module in the game. Tech 2 modules, like Tech 2 ships, are enhanced versions of their Tech 1 counterpart. They have improved stats and also require a higher skill level to use. Faction modules, again like faction ships we mentioned in our video on starships, are more rare versions of the Tech 1 and Tech 2 modules. Faction modules are also improved versions of the Tech 2 modules. Storyline modules are a group that can only be obtained by a player manufacturing them with materials that are gathered from specialized missions. Pirate Officer modules are a group similar to the faction modules. They can only be obtained through loyalty points earned by doing missions for a faction. They also are one of the better module types in the game, with improved attributes and stats that the Tech 1 and Tech 2 modules can't match. Dead Space modules are one of the rarest module types. These modules can be obtained by a player completing the high-level Dead Space complexes in-game. When talking about modules, we also need to discuss the concept of a named variant to a module. A named variant module is pretty much what it implies. It's a variant of a module but is given a specific name. These modules are unique in that they are improved versions of its parent module. A named module is also much more expensive than their Tech 1 or Tech 2 counterparts. In our previous video on ships in EVE, the concept of a signature radius was also mentioned. This is a determining factor on how easily a ship can lock onto its target. When thinking of a ship on our radar, the signature radius determines how big a ship will appear on an enemy's sensors. The larger a ship's signature radius is, the faster an enemy ship can lock onto it. In EVE, there are no skills a player can learn to remove their signature radius. Instead, there are modules and variants of those modules which determine their ship's final signature radius. When it comes to offensive and defensive modules, such as guns and armor repairers, there is also the concept of optimal range. This comes into play when a player is in space engaging in the main form of gameplay in EVE Online, whether it be PvE or PvP. A module's optimal range is the maximum distance from its target it can operate at peak efficiency. Being further away from the target than a module's optimal range can cause the module to miss entirely. We'll cover this in more depth in our section on the game UI and a player's overview. That's all for this episode of EVE 101. If you're interested in how modules work in terms of fitting your ship, check out the EVE Fit series with Jeff Rader. As always, if you enjoyed the show, subscribe below and check out our other work on CrossingZebras.com.